Hello, everybody. This is David Scott Peters coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona at the restaurantexpert.com, our world headquarters. You're here in the right place if you're here for the one system your restaurant must have to survive. Before we get started, I just want to go through a couple housekeeping notes. Number one, welcome. I'm so glad you made today's webinar. I do want to let you know I've got a couple of my team members online with us, Jenny Brooks and Greg Sauerbeck. They're going to be answering questions the best they can while you use the comment section, the chat box. So any point in time you've got something to throw it in there. I'm going to ask you questions from time to time. I'd love your input. Throw it on in there, chat. We want this to be interactive. It is YouTube Live. With that said, as I go through the process here, I want to make sure everybody takes a moment and subscribes to my YouTube channel. That way you can be up to date on any webinars that are coming up or video tips or anything I've got coming. We're pushing content all the time. So if you want to share it with yourself or other managers, owners that you know, make sure you come to my channel and subscribe. With that said, we're going to get started here in just a moment. And I do want to let you know as we go through the webinar, I'm going to do all the teaching. I'm going to give you lots of wonderful things you can put into place right now to make huge change in your business. But I also want to let you know that after I'm done teaching, for those of you who are interested, I am going to take a few moments of your time and I'm going to show you how we utilize the recipe costing card system in our software called Smart Systems Pro. But again, this is going to be packed full of information, things that you can use right away to make change in your business. So do me a favor, as people are logging on, in the chat window, type in your name and restaurant and where you're from so we can put some shout outs out there. I'd love to know who's listening, where you're from, style of restaurant you have, and if you have any questions. Do me a favor, type those questions in the chat box. We're going to save those questions till the end of the webinar when Jenny Brooks is going to kind of feed them to me on another device so that I can see them. I want to focus on you through here, so I'm not paying attention to a chat window. But I will get all that information, so any questions you have, make sure you do that. So let's get started here. In case you didn't know, my name is David Scott Peters. My company is called the restaurantexpert.com. We help independent restaurants not only survive but thrive in the sea of chain restaurants out there. We give you the same systems and tools that chains use without losing your independence. We love our guests, we love our employees, but we are going to do what they do well, and that's make money. So when we talk about today's topic, the one system your restaurant must have to survive, why recipe costing cards are critical, I can't think of anything more critical to your business. In fact, I always say the two most important systems any restaurant should have in place to have any chance of making are budgets and recipe costing cards. Budgets and recipe costing cards, both because they make us a proactive restaurant management team. Instead of reacting, look, we've lost money, we made money, maybe it was dumbass luck, we actually decide what we're going to do in order to be profitable. And there's nothing more important than recipe costing cards. If you don't know what every one of your items costs you, don't give me, I generally know what my protein costs. Well, then you're generally not making money because we're an industry of pennies, not dollars, right? If you don't know what every item costs, you're throwing your profitability to what I call dumbass luck. Now, we want to change that. We want to put the power of profitability in your fingertips, and I'm going to show you how important recipe costing cards are right now. For those of you who don't know me, let me tell you a little bit about my background. I grew up in my family's restaurant and catering business back in Linwood, New Jersey, where I worked for the toughest manager I know. If anybody on this webinar right now has ever worked for your mom, do me a favor, type it in the chat box, because I'm going to tell you right now, I did, and I hated every minute of it. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my mother, and it was a wonderful experience, but I did hate it. I was a teenager. My mother said to my sister and I that she's going to hold us more accountable than anybody else. There'd be no favoritism. So what somebody else would get away with, no problem. We had a very short lease. So as a teenager, I hated that. But she did me a favor. Every job I had after that, I elevated quickly. Why? Because I had a work ethic like nobody else around me. I later took those skill sets, worked for an independent company called Coyote Springs Brewing Company and Cafe in the early 90s when brew pubs were opening one a week. Now we're seeing that resurgence now, but think back then, one a week brew pubs were opening. Our first location was a cash cow, hand over fist money. Our second location was much like owning a boat. Anybody own a boat? If you do, you know it's a hole in water in which you throw money. So as one made money, the other one stole it. And this is when things went wrong, when we had trouble with cash flow. This is where I developed what I call my restaurant operational smart systems. Restaurant systems that are simple, measurable, applicable, repeatable, trainable. The key with any systems, they have to be simple or nobody's going to use them. They have to be trainable or you can't get anybody to use them. Now, I left there, went to a company called Famous Sam's, a 30-unit restaurant sports bar chain here in Arizona. As a franchisor, I was a director of operations. We were going gangbusters. Guys bought the company, wanted to take it public. We opened 8 stores. I had an operations team. We were going gangbusters. These guys so poorly ran the company that in almost under a year, just under a year, they damn near bankrupted the company. As management left, I went and taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, Management and Human Resources, Wines and Spirits. So for those of you who are chefs on this call, don't ask me about food quality. I'm not that guy. I can't cook. I'm a horrible cook. You don't want to see my knife skills, man. Give me an onion and a chef knife. I'm whacking that in there, and I'm throwing that thick, usable layer of onion away. But while I cannot cook, I can run any of your kitchens. With the right systems in place, I can order based off par levels and budgets. I can schedule based off of staffing guides. I can make sure that I can open and close every station based on side work checklists. I can run your kitchen. What I can't do is help anybody or teach them how to cook. So do know that those restaurant owners on this call, if you're tired of being in a situation where you don't know how to run your kitchen, that's not worth it anymore. I want to make sure that I've got replacements for everybody, because maybe that chef decides to get a new job, open their own restaurant. You don't want everything leaving because it's in their mind. So I can do that. Well, while I was teaching at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, I was consulting. And the minority shareholders of Famous Sam's, who then became the actual owners of the company, kept asking me to come back. And I kept saying no, no, no. And then it was about 1 month before my first child was born. And I said, okay. And I walked into a disaster. I mean, just an absolute disaster. This company should have been bankrupt. But you know what? I took on the job and I was given a 5-year goal. Turn the company around and sell it for a profit. I missed that goal by 3 months. I know what it is to be an independent operator. I know what makes the chain successful. It's my job to give you the same systems tools that chains use without losing your independence. We love our guests, we love our employees, but we are going to do what they do well, and that's make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, you have a responsibility to your customers, to your employees, and to you and your family to run profitably. And so today, what we're going to be talking about is that one system you must know, must have in place to have any chance of making money, and that's recipe costing cards. I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step system to creating your recipe cards. I'm going to show you how we get the power of having recipe cards. One, we're going to know our profitability, but how do we know that? We're going to know our ideal food cost. We're going to show you how that is important for taking inventories. These are critical to your business success. You can no longer say, I generally know what the protein costs. Now, if we start and we say, okay, David, I buy in. Well, let's first buy in all the way and understand that your menu is the heart of your business. It literally is the heart of your business, and it's pumping blood. But in our cases, it's pumping what? Money through each department, that I can buy food, that I can schedule people, right? It's pumping through all of our arteries. And if all of a sudden I'm putting out dishes that I'm losing money on, it's choking off the arteries. And as it does so, it takes the money away. Eventually could kill your restaurant. Think about it. Think about it. Your menu is the heart of your business. It has everything to do with the decor you chose. It has everything to do with the style of service you chose, your price point, quality of product. Your menu is the heart of your business. And if you don't cost out every single recipe, like I said a moment ago, you're throwing your profitability to what I call dumbass luck. So why do we cost out a recipe? Why is it important for us to cost out a recipe? Well, I'm going to tell you there's 2 reasons why you want to cost out a recipe. Number 1 should be pretty simple. What is that? Make money, right? Can I make money on an item? How do you know how much money you're going to make on an item if you don't have a recipe costing card? Again, generally doesn't work. We're in an industry of pennies. The second isn't always top of mind for people. What is that? Well, it's consistency. It's consistency. Think about it. There are some chain restaurants in your marketplace. There's one that I can't stand that is nationwide. It's a neighborhood location, and they put out crap food, just horrible food. They'll remain nameless. But with that said, you can probably picture that right now. And they have lines of people. Are they in your neighborhood? Are they in your marketplace? This restaurant is so horrible, but they have lines of people. How is it this horrible chain restaurant? This concept is horrible. How does it have customers lining up for crap food every single day? I'll tell you why. They may suck, but they suck the same way every single day. Now, you may laugh a little bit in the back of your brain going, I can't believe that. But it's true, right? Their food is bad. Comes out of a microwave, hits every plate, comes out the same every single time, yet they have lines of people. Well, we laugh about it and think, oh, that's not my restaurant. Yeah, but in your restaurant, sometimes the portion's this big, sometimes the portion's this big. Sometimes it's salty, sometimes it's not. Whatever it may be, it's those little changes in a recipe that can completely drive a guest away. So I might be a large dude and I love this huge portion of pasta. Next time I come in, the portion's small. I think, man, I'm getting ripped off. I could be an older gentleman and this is way too much food. But I come in the first time and it's just right and I feel like it's a good value. The next time, oh, I don't want to come here. There's too much food. You see, then when we talk about recipe costing cards, we talk about the effort that's going to be put in. It's 40, 60 man hours. Whether you're doing it by hand, using a spreadsheet or software, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is there's real work involved. But you will have all the information you need to know if you're making money. And guess what? It's about top line mentality. If you put out the same dish every single time, the same product on the same plate looks the same every single time, you actually build your sales. So when your chef or kitchen manager gets all upset that you saw David Scott Peters and I said, we're going to do recipe costing cards, the hell with this. It's about driving business. That chef, that kitchen manager has everything to do with whether your sales are high or low. Why? Because they're putting out the same dish the same way every single time. And that's what this industry is about, giving a consistent experience. So don't think of it as just profitability. It is sales and has everything to do with it. Here, want a case in point? Think back right now. Have any of you on this webinar, and type it in the chat box, have any of you rehired a cook that worked for you years ago? Think about it. If you have a cook you've hired back that came from your staff years ago, what's the first thing they said? Right? Type it in the chat box. I'll tell you what they said. That's not how we made that. That's not how we made that. And you wonder why your sales are dropping when your signature item gets changed every single cook as it's handed down like a story from generation to generation. I wonder why our most popular item when I open up this restaurant is not selling like it used to. It's not the same item. You have to make sure it's going out your way. Recipe costing cards are critical to your business, building sales as well as costs. So let's build a recipe costing card. Here is the old-fashioned way, right? Imagine a piece of paper, a pencil, and here we go. We've got a place for the cook's name, the recipe name, the date. We're going to skip the yield in the upper box in the upper right-hand side for a second. Now you notice on column E, it's a list of ingredients. Well, I used lettuce, tomato, mayo, chicken breast, bun, cheese, potato wedges. Oh, well, that's an ingredient list. It's a shopping list. Well, column E is that. Column A, however, is how I buy that product. Let's say I was doing a Caesar salad and I buy a case of romaine lettuce. Column A is the cost of the case, not the portion, but the case. Column B is the quantity of ounces in that case. But then there's column C. Column C is a yield test. Think about it. Can you tell me what a yield test is? A yield test, for those you don't know, is how much usable product I have. See, I may buy a case of romaine lettuce, but when I do that, I grab a head of romaine lettuce, put it on the cutting board. The top is wilting green and brown. It's got worms. Are you going to serve that to your guest? Thump, throw it away. The bottom's like an apple core, only a goat would eat. Are you going to serve that to your guest? Thump, throw it away. Now make it easy arithmetic for me. Let's say we get a 50% yield. We're throwing away half the product. But you purchase that product at 10 cents an ounce, but I have a 50% yield. That means I'm really using it at 20 cents a usable ounce. That can completely change your recipe cards and their costing. So you have to make sure we do yield tests for every product that is a potential yield. Think about it. If I sell chicken wings, I buy them by the 40-pound case, but I use them by the each. I have to do a batch recipe that converts those from pounds to an average count. So I can take 4 or 5 cases of wings. I've got to count them out and say I come up with 250 wings in a case on average. And then I've got to do that on a quarterly basis. Think about it. In the middle of summer, if you serve chicken wings, what happens to those things? They get anorexic, right? I mean, the hot summers drive the weights down, and now my counts go up. So it doesn't matter the product. Any product, like, heck, I'm a pizza place and I shred my own mozzarella. You understand when you shred mozzarella, it shrinks, right? It evaporates. There is yield to all these products. To have proper recipe cost cards, I have to do a yield test. Ending weight divided by beginning weight. Whew. I mean, incredible, right? It's tough arithmetic. But you got to do it. Because what happens is now in column D, I put my quantity of usable ounces, right? I may have had a case full of this, but this is what I can use, which gives me column G is my usable ounce cost. How many usable ounces divided into the total cost of the case tells me my usable ounce cost. Now that's critical because now in column F, I type I need 2 ounces of this, 1 chicken breast, 1 bun, so on and so forth. I multiply the quantity in column F to the usable price of each ounce, if you will, in column G. And in column H, I've got a total. Then we come down to the bottom. We got use divided by sales. Recipe cards done. Here's the challenge. They're wrong. What do you mean? I just walked you through. We added a yield test. Most of you don't do yield tests. Well, shouldn't my recipe cards be right? No, they're not. Think about it. I'm going to give you a game changer. How many of you give away chips and salsa at the table? Think about it. How many of you give chips and salsa away at a table? Oh, you're not a Mexican food restaurant. Not me, David. What about bread and butter? Anybody give away bread and butter at the table? All right, for the rest of you, right? Who gives away ketchup, mustard, salt, pepper, sugars? Oh, you're a part of this too. And I'm going to be very clear with you. I don't give anything away for free. What do you mean, David? Right? I'm not going to walk up to table 22 and say, looks like you used about 35 cents in mustard. I'm going to add that to your ticket. Wait till Yelp gets a hold of that son of a bitch, right? I mean, you're freaking done. But no, I don't give anything away. Think about it. If our food cost is calculated beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use, what left the shelves, hopefully sold, but could be wasted, stolen, spoiled, but left the shelves, use divided by sales, that's food cost. Well, if you give away product, what are you doing? You're increasing your use. Am I getting any sales for those product that I'm giving away? So as I give away product, my sales stay the same, which drives my food cost up. So if you're giving away product and you're a chef or kitchen manager, you're getting your ass chewed all the time because you're missing food cost. I wonder why when I give away chips and salsa, chips and salsa, chips and salsa, bread and butter, ketchup, mustard. Think about it. That's free product. What that means to me is what? I can't do that. So if I know that food cost is beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use, then I'm going to do an inventory of all the products I give away for free. I'm going to prep or purchase everything that I gave away for free, right? Beginning inventory plus everything I prepped or purchased to give away for free. At the end of that period, I take an ending inventory of only those products I give away for free. And that gives me use, the amount dollar value wise of the product I gave away for free. Now what do? I go to that expensive cash register called the point of sale system, and I go to run a PLU report, a velocity report, an item by item sales mix report. I don't care what you call it. How many entrees did I sell during that period? Only entrees, not desserts, not appetizers, nothing, just entrees. Then I take the number of entrees sold divided by how much product I used or gave away for free, right? How much left the shelves I gave away for free. I come up with 25 cents, 35 cents, $1.65. It doesn't matter what the number is. I now plug that in as an ingredient, a line item on my recipe costing card. Why? Because I'm going to charge enough that I'm going to bring in money to compensate for what I give away for free. That is a game changer. Think about it. You wonder why your food cost is running high as you give away product you don't pay attention to. Now, what else do I want to do? When I look at that, that's called a consumable or spice factor that I put it on the list. I may run a whole nother category. How many of you on this call use fryer oil, right? Chicken wings, fried items. I don't care what it is. Use fry oil. Well, isn't that food? You buy that as food. You use it as food, but do you count that? Meaning, do you collect money for it? So maybe what you got to do is beginning inventory of all the oil that you start with, plus all the purchases of all the oils you've purchased for that time, ending inventory of all the oil, right? Because we're throwing oil away. What do we have left? Take that divided by how many fried items, and I come up with 16 cents, 25 cents, 35 cents, whatever it is, and I plug that as a fryer oil factor on every item that uses a fried product. See, it's those things that throw off our food costs that often we don't understand, but we want to build them into our recipe costing cards so we know we get the money for them, that we're not losing money. We're not just giving it away. We make sure we get the money we deserve. Recipe costing cards are critical for that. And last but not least, what about paper? Does paper belong in a recipe costing card? Well, it's a trick question in some respects. The answer is yes and no. Well, paper. If I'm a taco place and every taco gets wrapped in a piece of parchment, every taco, 100% of the time, every time it goes out, it's in a piece of parchment. That paper is food. I buy that paper as food. I inventory that paper as food. I use that paper as food on a recipe costing card. But what if I'm a pizza place and 50% of my pizzas are to go in a box? Then I've got these customers who don't finish and say, can I have a box? Well, are those boxes a part of a recipe costing card? The answer is no. Why? Because I don't use a box 100% of the time. I don't use that box 100% of the time. If I put it in the recipe costing card, create a pizza box, a paper factor, if you will, I'm padding my recipe cards. I'm assuming I use the 35-cent box, the 50-cent box, whatever it is, every single time I sell a pizza. And when I don't use it every single time, and I later show you what ideal food cost looks, I'm showing that I actually used a product that I didn't. And so I may hit my food costs and do a great job, but what I'm really doing is overportioning cheese. It's being hidden because it thinks I used a box every single pizza I sold. So in that case, it goes on our profit and loss statement as a line item called paper. It's a percentage of sales. If I sell more, I use more. If I sell less, I use less. So it might be 1.5, 2 points. So with that said, recipe costing cards are critical. Make sure not only are we doing yield tests, but we're doing a spice factor, consumable factor, or again, maybe an oil factor. And last but not least, make sure paper only belongs in a recipe costing card if we use it 100%. And before anybody asks, the answer is an astounding no. Labor cost does not belong in a recipe costing card. That belongs in a calculation called prime cost. Make sure you look on this YouTube channel. And I've done a webinar in the past, and I've done tips, and I'll teach you what prime cost is. And that's the one number you must know to have any chance of making money in this business. But labor does not belong. Labor belongs in prime cost, where my total cost of goods sold plus total labor costs are combined, and that's the number I figure. But right now, we're focusing on what? Recipe costing cards. Now, the first place I want to start when I do my recipe costing cards is my batch recipes. What I want you to do right now is I want you to go grab your menu, put it in your hands, put it down, and grab a yellow pad of paper and a pen. Open up your menu and start on the first item and say what batch recipes are in that item. What is a batch recipe? A batch recipe is a soup, a side dish, a sauce, an ingredient that you make yourself. Right? We go to Cisco's of the world, we say, give me all this stuff. We put it in a pot and out comes something else. Well, it has a value. When we're done, what is the value of the per ounce? What is the value of the batch? What is the value of that product that I manufacture in my restaurant? So what I want you to do is create a checklist of all the things. So let's say chicken wings are my number one item on my appetizers. Well, how many batch recipes are in that? I make my own 5 sauces. There's 5 batch recipes. Oh, chicken wings. Buy them by the pound, use them by the each. Batch recipe. Oh, I make my own ranch dressing. Batch recipe. I cut my own celery, my own carrots, batch recipe. You could have literally 9 batch recipes before you ever can get to the item recipe. And this is really critical because all too often, I'll talk about the old way, how a lot of chefs, a lot of kitchen managers skip this part and either have really incorrect recipe cards, or one recipe card takes 20 hours because we go in and out of it because we realize we make a sauce and have to go out and do the sauce and come back, and we keep going back and forth. It makes this process absolutely incredibly impossible. So what you're going to do is you're going to document all of your batch recipes, your soups, your side dishes, your sauces, anything you manufacture. And you should be able to do that, document, not cost, but document within a week. All right, I know you work so hard, you're so busy, 2 weeks. You're killing me. Why should it only take 1 week? Why should it only take 1 week to document your batch recipes? Not cost, document. Think about it. These are products you make fresh, right? You make them every single week. If you do not make them every single week, your food sucks and you're going to kill someone, right? Now, what it means is you may have to take your ass, park it in the kitchen, at a metal prep table, grab a bar stool, yellow pad of paper, your pen, and go down your checklist. And as somebody makes something, you may have to stop, move over there and say, stop, weigh it, write it down. Stop, weigh it, write it down. Right? Make sure you document every single batch recipe. No longer do I want to have it in somebody's head. Somebody makes my desserts all the time. God forbid they get hit by a truck and all those recipes are gone. I need all these things written down. Now, it may take you 1 to 2 weeks. Why? You make them every single day. And if you look at the recipe costing card I have up on the screen here, we've got, the cook's name, Brad Hacker did it. It's melted cheese dip. And I added one other thing. Well, everything pans out just like we taught. Down at the bottom, it cost me $31.25, but I don't sell a batch recipe. I'm a manufacturer of an ingredient. Now, in the upper right-hand corner, there's another yield that says 205. That's how many usable ounces are what I yield out of this batch. Put all the stuff into a pot. What's left over after it evaporates and I cook it down is 205 usable ounces. Divide 205 into the $31, $31.25, and down on the bottom right-hand side, in J, row J, 15 cents a usable ounce. Now that's critical. Why? It's critical because now when I do a cheese dip and pretzels and I put 2 ounces, I know it's 30 cents. If I do a nacho, use 4 ounces, that's 60 cents, right? Extremely important. How do you do your batch recipes with soups, side dishes, sauces, anything you manufacture if you don't do a recipe costing card? You can't. That's why we do them first. Once we've done those, we're ready for an item recipe. An item recipe is any item we sell. In this case, I have a Caesar salad. Now notice I have romaine lettuce, croutons, Parmesan cheese, and Caesar dressing. Let me be very clear. All of those items, the romaine lettuce, the croutons, Parmesan cheese, Caesar dressing, could all be pre-portioned or pre-manufactured, purchased from, say, Cisco, right? It's a product I buy. But I could also buy romaine lettuce by the case and butcher it up myself. I could make croutons out of bread that I didn't use yesterday. Parmesan cheese I could grate, even though I buy a big block of it, I'm grating it, so it's evaporating, it needs a yield. And Caesar dressing I make myself. So you have to understand you cannot do your item recipes without doing what? Batch recipes first. Need a little more example? Think about it this way. How many times have you seen somebody like me? And some of you have seen me speak all over the country, seen me talk about recipe cost cards, come home and go, Chef, I need recipe cost cards. I saw David Scott Peters. They're just so important. They're critical to my business. We got it, da-da-da-da. And then they start the process to go, it's too freaking hard. I don't have enough time. I don't need it. I generally know what my protein is, and the process stops. Well, it is too hard when you don't do it right. If I sit and start with my chicken breast sandwich, call it a barbecue chicken breast sandwich, I start with it, bun, check, that's easy. Chicken breast, 6 ounce, 5 ounce, whatever it is, that's easy. Cheese, that's easy. Wait a second, barbecue sauce, I make my own. I stop, I go out of this recipe and do my batch recipe for what? For my barbecue sauce. Find out what the per ounce is. I use 1 ounce. I come back, put it on there. Next, bacon, I have bacon on it. I buy bacon by the pound. I use it by the each. I have to do a batch recipe. It tells me a 15-pound slab of bacon, how many usable slices of bacon, and I take and count for it. I have that 1 idiot that burns bacon every single week, right? How many usable slices do I have? So I do that batch recipe, come back, put it on. Oh, I think I'm doing pretty good. I make 5 sides all myself from scratch. I have to stop and I have to do 5 batch recipes for what? All of my sides I make. All of a sudden, this process went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I stopped because it takes too long. That's why you've got to do your batch recipes first, followed by your item recipes. Now, here's a really important piece of advice. You may have done your recipe cards, followed all the steps I talked about, and you wrote them, all your item recipes, sitting at table 22. You said, 5 years ago, 10 years ago when I opened my restaurant, that was 6 ounces, that was 2 ounces, and so on. Or you took your old book and you rewrote them so they're legible. They're probably wrong. Because without accurate, up-to-date recipe costing cards, something that is followed up on a routine basis, that has shifted. Your recipe may have called for 5 ounces of French fries, but routinely, this is the portion. Not a weight, not some sort of receptacle that, no, every time it's 5 ounces of French fries, it's a hand. And all of a sudden, there's a little white space, I add more French fries, and all of a sudden, I've been using 7 ounces of French fries on a routine basis. So what you have to do is get your ass into the kitchen on a slow day, not Friday, not Saturday night, but a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. Say, stop, weigh it, write it down. Stop, weigh it, write it down. What are the recipes that I'm actually putting out? What are the recipes my cooks are actually executing? That's critical to the process. It doesn't mean we can't change. But if I don't know what my recipes are right now, I don't know what changes I need to make in order to have a chance to make money. Now, here's the sad part. This is a spreadsheet. The one I showed you before, well, that was a piece of paper. I'm going to tell you right now that if you've done all of your recipe cards by hand, or you've done all your recipe costing cards using spreadsheets, they're wrong. Wait a second. What if I saw you speak, David, at somewhere else, maybe in Florida, New York, California, somewhere? What if I saw you speak and I'm doing everything you say? Well, they're wrong. Even though you followed every single step I just talked about. Why? Did any of your prices change this week? Hell, every delivery that comes to your back door, a price has changed. And from that moment forward, every recipe card that uses that ingredient, that product, is wrong. What you need today is you must have software in order to manage your recipe costing cards. Because here's the deal. It takes 40 to 60 man hours to do your recipe costing cards. Let me be very, very clear. It's going to take 40 to 60 man hours to do your recipe costing cards. There's no way around it. It's not difficult. It's time consuming. But if you do it by hand, they're wrong, right? As soon as a delivery hits. If you do it by a spreadsheet, they're wrong as soon as a delivery hits. Why? Because I'm not going to change. I'm a pizza place, and the cheese changed. It's a nickel, 10 cents a pound more. Well, while you wouldn't think that's major, that is huge because it's probably in your top 10, maybe top 3 items you purchase where you spend most of your money, which means your food costs just went through the roof. But I don't have the time to do that, so I wait 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I wait a year. Most important data is out of date, and I'm going to show you how we use that data in just a second on a monthly basis. Well, you wait. Well, what happens? You don't have good information. You lose money. You are now at a point where you need software, whether it's my software or one of my competitors. Well, I don't really care. I'm lying to you. I care. I hope you use our software. The truth is you need to have a system, a software system. Why? We've set it up. So let's say you use Cisco. We're already set up with Cisco that they know you're on our system. They're going to email you a spreadsheet, an electronic order, meaning your invoice came to you by hand, but you also got an email. We set up our system that any vendors you use, that you get an electronic invoice, a spreadsheet. We create an import tool that every time it comes in, you grab it and upload it like uploading a photograph to Facebook. Bang, you're done. Every recipe card's up to date. Your next order's up to date. Your inventory's up to date. And that's why software is critical. For those of you who are interested in seeing how we use it in our software, stick around. At the end of this webinar, I'm going to show you. Now, We got recipe cost cards. What the hell do we do with them? Well, one of those things is we need to figure out our ideal or theoretical food cost. Your ideal or theoretical food cost is extremely important. One, I want to create a brand new menu. What is the target food cost I'm going to hit so I know if I can make money and it hits my budget? Two, how is my chef or kitchen manager doing? Are they wasting product? Is there theft? Do I have portion control issues? What do I have? And so what I find out ideal food cost, remember we talked about actual food cost, that's taking inventories and tracking our purchases. I've got my ideal food cost. Maybe I find that there's waste, theft, spoilage. There's things going wrong in my kitchen. Is my chef just slightly above that number, or is chef way up here, wasting tons of money? Because what I don't want is for you to see somebody like me at a trade show, and you hear that the national average for food costs for full service restaurants 34%. And you go home and say, Chef, I need a 34%, right? That's the national average put out by the National Restaurant Association. Who the hell said you were average? Is everyone on this webinar? And there's hundreds of people registered for this webinar. Before I started, are you all on the same street corner, the same price point, same product quality, same style of service, same everything? Is your restaurant average? The answer is no. So industry standards don't mean crap. So when I put out that menu and I use ideal food cost, having recipe cost cards and menu mix, we'll talk about in a second, and I know what my food cost should have been, and I measure it against my actual, I have real power to see where we're bleeding. Because maybe 34% is not your number. And instead, your number is 38% because you've got all these high-end steaks, prime CA beef steaks, and it's driving your food cost off. But you're going to your chef, your kitchen manager, 34. But based on what your customers actually purchase is 38, the only way he or she can make money or keep their job, make their bonus, is cheat the guest. Buy cheaper, crappy product. Reduce portion sizes. Because if they operated perfectly, it'd be a 38%. Now, what if your number's not 34%, but you're hitting 34%, your number should be 22%. You're giving your chef a pat on the back because they're hitting 34%, right on national average. We're doing awesome. But you're finding they're donking off dollars, hand, fist over dollars, theft, waste, spoilage. It's horrible management of your kitchen. Well, you can't ever know if you don't know your ideal food cost. So how do we figure it? Well, here's how I was taught. Now, I'm going to tell you before I get started, because normally when I give this speech, I've got a way to set this up. But what I'm about to tell you, the way I was taught this process is wrong. If you look at this, I've listed out every item I'm going to have on my menu, what the cost is, which came from my recipe costing card. I added to that the price I'm going to sell it for. Use divided by sales gives me the food cost on the outside right-hand side. Well, if I add up all my current costs, I add up all my menu prices, use divided by sales, $14.95 into 65, says this new menu or my ideal food cost should be 22.96%. Well, it's completely asinine wrong. It's wrong. It's based on what we call menu mix. What our customers actually purchase, what it costs, what we sell it for, and how many they actually purchased. It's called a weighted average. Scary mathematical term, so let me put it to you this way. We may have items on our menu like an anchor appetizer comes out of a box frozen into a fryer at a 38% food cost. But I also sell the living hell out of my fresh cut, hand cut French fries at a 5% food cost. And because I sell the living hell out of this 5% item and very few of the 38%, my food cost may be much, much lower. So the way to teach this to your team is this. Let's say you have a 2-item menu. All you sell is 2 items. That's it. One item has a 1% food cost. One has a 99% food cost. And in a calendar month, you're going to sell what? In a calendar month, you sell 100 items, 99 of them at 1% food cost, and 1 at 99% food cost. What's your food cost? Right? 1%. Next month, same menu, I sell 99 items at 99% food cost, 1 at 1% food cost. What's my food cost? 99%. See, this one item doesn't move the needle much. Again, this allows us to know what our food cost should be. If we had no waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant, which does not exist. But if my kitchen manager, my chef, trained and executed the recipes that I put them down on paper, I know theoretically what I should have used with no waste, no theft, no spoilage. Perfect restaurant, again, does not exist. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at if I were to run an ideal food cost of 28%, my expectation is there is some waste, some theft, some spoilage. I'm looking for a 1.5 to 2 point variance. Like I'm going to give you some padding that says if my ideal food cost is 28%, you should be coming in at 30, 29.5, right? So this is critical because what if I came in, it's supposed to be 28, I should be coming in at 30 if I allow for waste and spoilage, but I'm coming in at 34% national average, and I'm patting my kitchen manager or chef on the back, and you're losing thousands of dollars every single month. This is critical. I can't do this if I don't have recipe costing cards. You know what else I can't do? Make change to your business. If we had time, we'd go over menu engineering. If you give me actual up-to-date, current recipe costing cards and your menu mix, I could save you 3 to 7 points the first time doing menu engineering. But I can't do that if I don't have what? Recipe costing cards. So here, let's go to the next thing here. Let's say you have a point of sale system. This weighted average is in your POS system. This is what we call an item-by-item sales mix report, velocity report. Notice the number of items sold, how many sold, the amount. The problem is, in many of your POS systems, the amount or total sold is wrong. It's based off of net sales. We need gross sales. Think about it. If I asked my chef to put out a $10 burger, use $3 in product, that's a 30% food cost. If I keep comping my burgers and run 50% off all the time, and I collect $5, and I'm still using $3 in product, that takes that food cost to 60%. So I need to measure chef fairly. I need to make sure it's off of gross sales. Your POS system 9 out of 10 times uses net sales, that every time you comp $10 on a ticket, if there were 10 items, it takes $1 off each, stores it in a database, and gives you a weighted average of what it was sold for. Because you'll notice, if I actually could do that in your POS, there is a place for all your pricing, and then there's a place for cost. You could actually plug it in there, and you'd find your ideal or theoretical food cost. Challenge is, it's wrong. Why? Because every recipe card is changed. That's why software, external software like we have with Smart Systems Pro, becomes so important. Now, how do I look at that? Here's an image of our old desktop version of Menu Profit Generator. It's now in the Smart Systems Pro. But you notice it's got each grouping, soups, salads, rice bowls, bites, and it goes down. It scrolls down. You can see the right-hand side, there's a scroll bar. And we know the cost came from my recipe costing cards. We know our menu price, what I sell it for, gross sales. And I've got the quantity that came from my point of sale system, how many I sold. The next CM is contribution margin, how much money do I make, and food cost is next. Well, I've got all this information I can glean. All this information, but notice, in soups, it has a 21.54% food cost. And that has items in it with 28% food cost, and those with 7.57. The next section, salad bowls, 19.74. The next section, 18.98 for the rice bowls. But all the way at the bottom, my ideal food cost, if I had no waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant, which does not exist, I should have a food cost of 21.88%. This is critical because what I do with it now is I can change my menu. I know my ideal food cost and I can compare it to actual. We'll talk about that when we close here. But look, I'm going to sort this information by how many I sold, the most to the least. Maybe I want to do it off of contribution margin. Do I want to make more money? I tend to go with what I sell the most to the least. And then you can see what we have. The next thing I do when I have that information is look at my top sellers. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to raise the price. In the restaurant business, it's not supply and demand, it's demand. If I sell the living hell out of it, it's a value at any price. First, second, maybe third item, I'm raising the price, no questions asked. The losers down at the bottom, things I don't sell, but one a day or less. And understand this, if you sell one a day, you don't sell one a day. You don't. You sell one on a Tuesday, one on a Thursday, the rest on a Sunday. The next week it's completely different, which means 3 weeks go by, a customer orders it, ticket comes up, cook goes like this, puts it on the line and goes, shit, I haven't made that in 3 weeks. Reinvents the dish. I wonder why our sales are dropping when that dish is completely different every time it goes out. Now, when I drop those losers, And in this case, let's say there's 100 items. I have to determine those 100 items go somewhere else. Take, for instance, I have a tuna salad, a salmon salad, and I get rid of the tuna salad. 50 customers bought the tuna salad. Where do you think they're going? Right? The salmon salad. So I move those customers over and I can see how it impacts my bottom line. If those same customers walked in the door, paid something different, bought something different, it cost something different, what is the impact? Next, what do? I'm going to look at items, can I reduce the cost? If I'm throwing away a lot of product because I'm over portioning or giving them a huge value, maybe I can cut that back without raising the price. Maybe I can go to the Cisco's of the world, say, give me a prime vendor agreement and lower my food cost, my purchasing by 3 to 5 points by buying the same items and reduce that cost. Maybe I can reimagine a dish. Maybe I could say, David, I can't raise the price on this chicken dish. I haven't raised it in maybe it's a chicken sandwich in 3 years. Don't tell me why it can't be done. Tell me how it can be done. What you may have to do is take that mayo, add some chipotle, create a chipotle mayo, call it a brand new item, and now it's not apples to apples, it's apples to oranges, and I can raise the price without any problem. But by doing this, the example I have on my screen is a 3-month menu mix for a $2.5 million pizza cheesesteak restaurant. Now notice at the bottom, by the time we did all of those things, we changed their bottom line, lowered the food cost by 3.2%, and made them cash in hand every quarter, $53,000. This is what you can do if you have recipe costing cards. Proactively change your bottom line. More recently, very recently, here's a menu change for the oldest tavern in Buffalo, New York. Incredible food, great service, incredible atmosphere, love the owners to death. But notice on the before picture, right? When we do menu engineering, the last thing I want to do is put that picture at the top, take up, it's sales space. And hell, look at it, ... bold dollar signs, all the mistakes I go nuts about. In fact, hell, we have whiteout because the cost went up. We didn't want to reprint, we used whiteout. But notice the menu after. I can tell you this owner worked her butt off. Her father did the recipe cost cards. We did a menu analysis. She did design, incredible with pictures and boxes and raised prices and layout. And we determined that when we put this on the table, it was going to make a difference of $136,000 a year in bottom line profitability. And you know what? It is actually doing that. But as we talk about this, do you know why they had to do this? They're in the state of New York, where minimum wage is on its way to $15 an hour. Minimum wage. Cooks, servers, the like. So for some of us, we have to do this because there's not enough labor controls or cuts that we could possibly put in place to make up for a $15 minimum wage. So recipe costing cards are critical if you want to make money. And it goes back to that prime cost. Where are we? How do we affect that? Last but not least, if you give me the right information, a budget, right? We talk about budgeting to be proactive. That's the number I need to do. Then you take actual inventories, which allows me for value, which allows me to find out my actual food cost is, how much product left the shelves, what's my food cost. Then you give me recipe costing cards, an ideal cost. And all of a sudden, you look at this slide, my budget was 28%, my actual is 29%, already we're not doing well. I needed to run a food cost 1 point lower to have a chance to make money. I'm in trouble. Then I go down and look at my ideal food cost, 27% versus 29%. That's not bad. I told you, ideal versus actual, I'm going to give you 1.5 to 2 points variance, meaning there is theft, waste, spoilage. We're not robots. So in this case, my chef's doing a great job. But wait a second, I need to run a 28% food cost. And if we know it's going to be 1.5 to 2 points higher, and I'm running 27.24, well, that's really a 29% food cost, almost 30. But my budget is 28. It says, chef, I need you to re-engineer the menu. You need to put out a menu that based on what the customers actually purchased, that it's 2 points lower than my budget. And then you need to execute in the kitchen to be as close to that as possible. You see, you can't just run off an industry standard. You can't just run off of what my actual food cost is. We need a budget, and more importantly, I need recipe costing cards so I know my ideal food cost. This is extremely important. critical to your business. So on this call, what have we done? We learned the steps to completing our cards. We know our ideal food cost. We know why they're critical. What I want to do for those of you who would like to see and go one step further, what I want to do is take a moment and I want to show you how we use recipe costing cards easily inside our software. I'm going to show you how we take this 46 man-hour process, trim it down a little bit. It's not going to be much, but I'm going to give you the power of knowing ideal food costs. I'm going to give you the power of knowing exactly what every item costs. You're going to see that a recipe can literally take minutes to put out. That anytime a feature goes out, a special, you know the cost. It's not pulled out of somebody's rear end. We know what everything costs. So here we go. I'm going to take you into Smart Systems Pro. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. I just want to help out with this. And oh, by the way, I want to make sure if you've got a question, I want you to type it in the chat window. And at the end of this demo, I'm going to answer your questions. And for those of you who joined a little bit late, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can be up to date on any webinars or tips that I'm putting out on this channel. So I'm in our software, Smart Systems Pro. It's cloud-based. I'm going to go to our food systems. I'm going to click on recipe costing cards. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a recipe. I click on the plus symbol in the bottom left-hand corner, and up comes a new recipe. I choose in the recipe type whether it's a batch recipe or an item recipe, in this case, item recipe. I put in my cook's name. In this case, I can actually, who's in charge of this, my chef, my kitchen manager. I'm going to say Brad Hackert was. And the recipe name, I'm going to call this Test Chicken Sandwich Webinar. What category? I've already put this in based on your menu. I'm going to say that this is a sandwich burger and it's active and it has the date that I did it. I click Save. Now, a window is going to pop up below where I put in the costing. Now, you can easily import all of your products you buy from all your broadline distributors and get it by spreadsheet. You make those products usable. Now, watch how easy this is. I click on a plus symbol and let's say I need chicken. I'm going to use this chicken breast CVP from Cisco, a 5-ounce breast. I'm going to use it by the usage unit is the 1 usable ounce, and it's 5. Product knowledge is somewhere else. That's set up if we use Vidalia onions. They're exceptionally sweet. I can put those in training cards. Quantity notes is 1 breast. That's how I cook. Now I click Save. Now notice, I know that the chicken breast, 5 ounces, is 16 cents an ounce, or it's 82 cents for that breast. Click on the plus symbol. I'm going to add cheese. I'm going to use this American loaf. I'm going to use a usage unit, 2 usable ounces. I'm going to click on the plus symbol again. I'm going to add bacon. Now, bacon is an interesting product. Remember, I have a bacon batch recipe so that I can use it by the portion size, 1 slice, 1 each. And I know that those are 37 cents a piece, right? So I'm going to put 1 slice of bacon, click on the plus symbol. I make my own barbecue sauce. Oops. Let me if I got BBQ sauce. I'm going to use it by the portion size, 1 usable ounce. And I'm going to add to that one last thing. I'm going to add some potato wedges as my size. So potato. And see how quick and easy this is. I'm going to use that by the usage unit. I'm going to use 5 ounces. Click Save. I'm done, right? No, I got a couple more steps here. Notice this. I can actually, oh, I forgot a bun. Really important. I need to put a bun in there. Hamburger bun, usage unit, 1 each. So now watch this. I can drag and drop these products in the order I want them to appear on the build chart. So I want the burger. Oh, I want bacon above the cheese. And I want barbecue sauce to be added up here. Done. Come down to the bottom. I know that this recipe cost me $2.68. I'm shooting for a 22% food cost, but I'm okay with a sandwich. I'm going to run at 28%. I click Calculate. It says I need to charge $9.95 for the sandwich. I'm going to charge $10.99. When I calculate, it's going to be a 24% food cost and an 8.31% cash contribution. Done. It's that easy. Now let me show you some of the other things that come with recipe costing cards. Again, just going to breeze through very quickly. Let me look up caramelized onions. That's a batch recipe, my caramelized onions. I'm going to find every item that uses it. Well, I'm going to find the actual batch recipe, my onion relish. I double click on it. This is a product I manufacture. Well, I come in, I've got all the ingredients. I know the cost, but I know how many ounces are in my red 1 quart Cambro, 20 ounces. I know that I have a ninth pan with 10 ounces. I use it by the 1 ounce portion, and I know the cost of each. A batch recipe is $3.87 on the shelf. I know that a storage unit is going to be $1.09 or $1.90, and it's 19 cents a usable ounce. I can upload pictures. I can put build charts, mise en place, all that information in. Let me show you a completed recipe costing card for an item we sell. I'm going to find my All-American Burger. Double click on this. Now let me show you a couple things we have here. I've got all the product, but I also uploaded a picture. I come down to the bottom, build chart, mise en place. Look at the 3 things I can print off very quickly. Well, 1, I have a recipe costing card. I want it in a book. Let me open up this file. And here's my recipe costing card. Let me make that larger for you to see. I've got my cost, I've got the picture, I've got everything I need. Well, wait a second. I want to know how I cook. I use it differently in the kitchen. I come to the bottom, click on Generate Recipe Card. How do I cook with it? Click Open. And now here, I've got the same recipe card, but instead it's 1 bun, 2 slices, single leaf, and so on. This is how I want it made in the kitchen. Wait, I want to go 1 step further. I want to make sure my front of house team can sell the product, know about Vidalia onions, that they're exceptionally sweet, come 1 crop a year. And here is a recipe training card for my front of house. We bake our bread fresh daily. We use applewood smoked bacon, use American cheese. These are critical to your business. And oh, by the way, if anybody moves on from your team, you have a trainable system. Those recipe cards are yours. They're with your business all the time. So training is easy. Making sure we have standards is easy. Last but not least, I'm going to take 1 more second and I'm going to go to something called Menu Profit Generator. That's the desktop software I showed you we now have online in our system. And based on your menu mix, your current recipe costing card is what you sell. I'm going to grab this summer menu and I can do lots. I can change my bottom line. I click on sort. I like to sort on the quantity sold, descending value, click sort, expand all, and guess what I have? Based on what my customers actually purchased, I know my ideal food cost. 14% here for my soups and salads. I come down to my burgers and sandwiches, 30%. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and look all the way in the bottom. My ideal food cost is 23.7%. I can compare that because my food cost is calculated in the software, what the difference is. I know my budget, that's plugged in. I have all the pertinent information to change my menu, make money, analyze my kitchen, whether my chef's doing his or her job properly. This is critical. Now, let me go back to our presentation here. I can tell you, it is not a simple process in the sense that these aren't magic. It's not a magic pill. In order to do your recipe costing cards, you've got to put information in, but it's incredible. And we've developed the software that can do that for you. What I want to do is I want to tell you a little bit about what we do. What I'd like to tell you about is our Winner Circle membership. We're a restaurant training and coaching company. And we help independents not only survive, but thrive in the chain restaurants out there. And over the years, over the past 13 plus years, we have literally developed every system. Whether training systems for full service or quick service restaurants, management training, operations manual, desktop software, coaching programs, seminars, workshops. But over the last 4 or 5 years, we've built a system called Smart Systems Pro. Smart Systems Pro is your online restaurant management solution that as long as you have an iPad, a Droid tablet, your phone, a computer, anything that has a web browser and a internet access, you have access to your systems. It's an online scheduling system with labor controls, online food, beverage, retail, recipe cards, ordering, inventory, prep, key item reports, waste sheet. It's a daily manager log cash control. It's everything in your business that you could literally be on vacation. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes, on vacation, you could log in and see that your chef ordered on time, on budget, following PARs, that they scheduled next week on budget, that they're on budget this week with labor. Unbelievable power. But more importantly, I know my prime cost on a weekly basis. You get the software as a part of your membership. What else do you get? unlimited training support. We're a training and coaching company. We're not a software company. Well, we have software. It's a centerpiece of what we do. But unlike other companies, we give you unlimited training support Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are literally going to answer all of your questions, and we have an online chat. You literally go on there and chat away. We're here to help. You also get free software training. We not only do weekly webinars, but we have trainings 10 times a year here in Phoenix, Arizona at our corporate office, free of charge. 2-day trainings where we show you on screen, on a computer, you do the same exact thing. We'll give you invoices, we'll give you schedules, we'll give you everything that you know how to use the software. That's incredibly valuable. But you also get access to me and any of our coaches. You literally get an hour of our time every single month. What do? We help write a budget for you with you. We re-engineer your menu for you with you, teach managers how to calculate cost of goods sold, walk you through a harassment problem, whatever it may be. We're your over-your-shoulder coach to make sure you're using the systems and you're getting the most out of your business. You get all of our training products. We have literally $8,000 in training products for you to digitally download and included in Smart Systems Pro. Again, from quick serve to full service to management training and so on. All yours, employee handbooks. It's almost like having franchise training and support for the person who doesn't want a franchise. Last but not least, we have workshops, seminars, and live software trainings. Let's look at it this way. Twice a year, we do a 3-day workshop. You can attend it for $375 instead of what? Instead of $1,500 for you and a guest. You can come to 4 of our 1-day seminars on either labor cost or food cost for free, you and a guest. You can do that 4 times a year. We tell you to, but as long as I have empty seats, you call us up, they're yours. And the next 2 days are Smart Systems Pro training. Now, guess what? There's no sign-up fee. There's no setup fee. It is month to month. So you can break up something like we're dating in high school, say, David, it's me, not you, and leave. And you give me 30 days notice, you're out. But there's more, right? I should be selling ShamWell. For those of you on this webinar, when you call up and say you're on the webinar, you let us know. If you sign up, I'll give you our Smart Systems Pro Accelerator program. It's a $4,800 value. What it is one of my training coaches will meet with you and your team on a weekly basis to make sure you're moving forward. Weekly. We're going to hold your hand. This is huge so that we can help you put the process in, because it's not an overnight process. It takes 6 months to a year for most people to get everything in place. But the beautiful part, as soon as you start to see results. Incredible. Now you're wondering, what is my investment? Ready? It's only $347 a month. There's no sign-up fee, no setup fee. It is month to month. Literally, all I got to do is save you $11 a day. If you don't save $11 a day to pay for myself, you're not using the system. But my goal is to take you from a national average of 5 to 8 cents on every dollar it comes in profitability to 15 to 20%. If you're really ready to make more money, if you're ready to get your life back, be able to leave the restaurant and know that things are getting done because you can hold people accountable from anywhere. If you want to have your managers know what the job is, how to do it, how well it should be done, by when, we're here to help. All you need to do is go to therestaurantexpert.com, click on our solution, and you can sign up there. If you'd like to set up a demo or sign up now, call toll-free 1-877-457-6278, dial extension 106, and Greg Sauerbach, our solutions coach, will answer any questions you have. And we're very low pressure. We'll literally take 15 minutes to tell you what we do, learn more about you, and you can say it's not for us, we're done. Because we understand we're not right for everybody. We create work, but if you're ready to put that work in, we'll make your life easier and make you a lot more money. But if you're ready for that, then we're right for you. But if you say we're not, we're done with you. If you want to see a demo, we'll set up a demo for you and all of your team. As long as you have internet access and a phone, we can show you the software. I hope we're a good solution for you, but again, I realize we're not for everybody. Now, while we do this, what I want to do is answer any questions you have. I'm going to look at my phone here. We've got Mike Brandell asked, besides Cisco, have you aligned with anyone else for inputting up-to-date food costs? The answer is yes and no. Yes, anybody you can get an electronic invoice from, literally a spreadsheet, we can use. That means I don't care if it's a liquor distributor, it's a small food purveyor, a broadline distributor. As long as you can give me an electronic spreadsheet, you can upload any vendors. In fact, we want all of your vendors' input because we know that if, let's say you work with a Cisco, a US Foods, a Benny Keith, a Shamrock, or whatever, as a broad line, you still have 10%. You still may go to Costco or a Restaurant Depot and so on. I need to get that data into our system. Another question we have is, what is the best first step to start creating a recipe costing card? Your best first step is what I mentioned early on, is grabbing your menu and creating a checklist for all the batch recipes. So now your menu is your item recipes, you have a checklist for all the batch recipes, and then from there is you need to go to your broadline distributors, all your small specialty vendors, and get your product purchase, your history, if you will, for the last 3-6 months. If you're seasonal and things change, I don't want all my purchases for the last 5 years. I want most recently this menu. And that way we can figure out what the portion cost is. We can do our yield tests and so on. So the 3 pieces, get all of your products from all your vendors that you buy, do your checklist, and have your menu. Those are your best starts. Howard Taub said, with higher costs of labor, what should salaries percentage compare to sales? All right, that's a completely different thing. So one of the things we talk about in prime cost is you have a 55%. National average, industry standard, 65%. Total cost of goods sold plus total labor cost, 65% prime cost. And that doesn't work anymore. So if you're working with us, if you do $850,000 a year or more in sales, your target is 55%. That's a 10-point drop. That means if you're $1 million a year business, I'm telling you there's 10 points on the table, or $100,000 a year in bottom line profitability, go from 65% to 55% if you're simply willing to do the work. And this is the beginning of that work. Now, where should I be? Well, that's a tough question. If I'm $1 million business, 1.5 million, I might be doing 10% of my sales is my salaries. That includes taxes, benefits, insurance, by the way. But if I get to $2 million, $3 million, I'm not adding 10%. I'm not using that. That's now going to be lower. Because why? I don't need to add a whole nother manager each $500,000 I go. And I don't have to pay more because my marketplace may be paying $35,000, $50,000, whatever it may be. I'm going to match it up. It also says the quite opposite. If I'm doing under $850,000 a year, you might not have money for a full-time manager. Because why? If I'm doing a $500,000 pizza place, I bought myself a job. I'm the GM, and my managers might be hourly. So it's really a budget question. So I hope it answers your question, but I'm not giving you a specific number, just a generality. Another question from Howard is, in a takeout business, what should the percentage of sales be for paper goods? Well, it's about 1.5% to 2% for all businesses. And it's really, you might be close to that 2%. You might go to 2.5%, some experience if I'm a pizza place and the boxes are very expensive. So I'm going to build it in. Because remember, if you're truly takeout, I'm building that paper into the recipe card if it's used 100% of the time. Otherwise, for all other paper items, it's about 1.5% to 2% of sales. So if I sell more, I use more. If I sell less, I use less. I've got another question here. Will your team help me create recipe cards on a consulting basis? So let me give you 2 answers to that. Yes and no. Look, we'll hold your hand and help you create your recipe cards. What will we do? What we will do for you, we will import your products into Smart Systems Pro for you, no problem. We will help you make them usable. We're going to teach you first, but if you run into a struggle and need us to take that over, we'll make your products usable for you. That way you can do your recipe cards, because without products usable, you can't. Will we actually put in your recipe cards? We'll do some as examples and teach you live. You see our screen, we're on the phone with you, you've got that. But we don't do recipe cards for you. But I do have one of my old coaches, Brad Hackert, has Systems Pro Consulting, and he will actually do them for you. He'll fly in the ground, implement the systems, and that's an additional charge. He's an outside service, but we do have the ability for you to buy speed. We don't do it for you, but we'll do all those things to help. I hope that answers your question. I'm going to see if there's any more questions. Type them into the question box, and Jenny will, again, get them to me here on my other device. But I want to thank everybody. If I don't have any more questions, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be on today's webinar. I want to make sure I'm looking over. Greg's phone is actually lit up. You've got people who are calling. And the question is, can I do a demo on a weekend? Just got that in? The answer is yes. call Greg Sauerback at extension 106, and I will tell you, we'll bend over backwards to show you. So if you're international, we'll do it on Skype. If you work all through the week and you only have time over the weekends, we'll find a way to make it happen to show you. And there is that's the last question I have, so that's a good thing for me. Again, I want to thank everybody. If you're interested, go online to therestaurantexpert.com, click on our solutions, you can sign up there. If you'd like to learn more about us and have us learn about you, see if we're a fit, want to schedule a demo or sign up, dial 1-877-457-6278 at extension 106, and we're going to be happy to help. Oh, wait a second before I go. There is one more question, quick question. It says, prime cost calculation. What number do you use gross income minus sales tax? So gross sales, just to tidy up, gross sales is the ring at the register before discounts, not including sales tax. Sales tax is not a sale. It's a privilege the government gives us to hold their money and penalize us like they're the mob if we borrow it. Don't do it. So gross sales, $10 burger, $5 comp. Gross sales is $10 burger. Excellent question. Same exact equation, if you will, or gross sale when we do our recipe costing cards. I want to thank everybody for being on today's webinar. Please subscribe now. Please call us up to learn more about what we do and we can learn about you. I look forward to working with you. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, we're here to help. Thanks, everyone.